For this read aloud, I chose to read the book Astronaut Scott Kelly, My Journey to the Stars. This book is written by Scott Kelly and talks about his life as an astronaut. It starts off talking about how he grew up and then the career choice that he made before he became an astronaut, and finally it talks about what it's like to live as an astronaut. For time's sake, I only chose to read part 3, which talks specifically about what his life is like as an astronaut. I would use this book to introduce a topic about space, but it could also be used to introduce a topic about occupations. I work in a title elementary school, and a lot of our students aren't exposed to a lot of different career options, and this would be a really fun book to talk to them about the possibilities of jobs they might not typically think of. Step 3, Becoming an Astronaut at Last. Mark and I both joined NASA in 1996. Our class was so large it was called the Sardines. As you can see, the illustrator has used captions to point out Scott and his twin brother Mark. We each flew into space 4 times. We flew on space shuttles, a Russian spaceship called Soyuz, and the ISS, but we never went to space together in case something went wrong. Space travel was our biggest risk of all. The author says space travel is our biggest risk of all. What kind of characteristics do you think it takes to be an astronaut? Talk to a friend. I flew the Space Shuttle Discovery on a mission to fix the Hubble Space Telescope on the right, and I led the Space Shuttle Endeavour below on a mission to make the ISS bigger. All the space shuttles stopped flying in 2011. Now the only way to reach the ISS is to ride on the Russian Soyuz. NASA's next big mission is to send astronauts to Mars. First, they need to see what happens when human bodies are in space for a long time. Twin astronauts were perfect for this job, so NASA asked me to spend a full year in space. No American had ever stayed in space that long. One twin astronaut in space, me, tested his brain, blood, eyes, muscles, and bones. One twin on Earth, Mark, did the same tests. NASA will continue to study us over time and compare the results. After many years in space, I stretched almost 2 inches and my eyesight got worse, but I am mostly back to normal now. Prior to this page, the author talked about how space travel was the twins' biggest risk they had taken. Now we can infer after reading this that some of these characteristics of being an astronaut may include taking big risks and doing things that are dangerous in order to learn about things outside of our Earth. Living on the ISS is very different from living on Earth. There's no gravity, so you float around. Floating sounds like fun, and it is, but tools you are using float away, and that can be so annoying. Even your body can float away when you are sleeping. That's why the crew has to sleep in bags that hang from walls or ceilings, drink through a special straw, and use special bathroom that is like a vacuum cleaner. You can see that the illustrator not only uses photographs to show what it's really like in space, but also illustrations to show the story that the author is telling. Talk to a friend about some challenges that you think you would have in space. Do you think you would like it and it would be adventurous, or do you think it's something that would be really difficult and not enjoyable? My crew on the ISS was so busy. NASA told us what to do all day so that we could fit everything in. They told us when to eat, when to exercise, and when to work in the lab. We had 400 experiments to run. Many of them studied the effects of zero gravity on lab rats, the crew, and the 20 mice on board. We even grew plants in space. I liked to water the flowers. It reminded me of seeing gardens with Grandma and Pop-Pop. I liked eating the lettuce even more. We were the first crew to eat fresh vegetables grown on the ISS. Knowing what we've learned about gravity, what do you think zero gravity means, and what do you think that would look like in space? Talk to a partner about that. NASA did its best to keep our crew safe, but the ISS is at risk every minute. Our crew faced extra dangers during my year in space. First, we lost 2 unmanned ships bringing fresh food and supplies when one crashed in April and another exploded in June. Second, the ISS was almost hit and destroyed by space junk in July. And third, we had to make an emergency spacewalk to fix the ISS in December. Here we hear Scott talking about some of the dangers of working in space and being an astronaut again. Do you think these are worth it? Or do you think it's not worth it to risk people's lives in order to learn about what's going on in space and educate ourselves about more than just the Earth? Talk to a partner. There's no right or wrong answer here. Earth meant everything to the crew while we were so far away. We loved to look out the windows at our beautiful planet. From our perch 220 miles above Earth, we saw big cities glittering in the blackness of night and the sun shining on rivers and oceans in many brilliant shades of blue. Our crew wanted to share the beauty. We hoped our photos would inspire people to protect our amazing home. Finally, my mission is done. It feels good to know that all the risks I've taken have brought humans one step closer to Mars. Now it's time to go home. Our Soyuz capsule is falling back to Earth at almost 1,000 feet per second. Gravity pushes down on us. It's hard to breathe. It feels like going over Niagara Falls in a barrel, but while you're on fire. The parachute opens. The landing is so hard my head slams into the seat cushion. Then the hatch opens and strong arms help me out. The fresh air smells amazing. NASA pokes and prods me. After many tests, I'm cleared to return to Texas. I land in Houston and give my whole family a big bear hug. When I get home, I walk straight to my yard and jump in the pool with all of my clothes on. The sights, smells, and sounds of Earth surround me. My year in space ends with my first shower and first night's sleep in bed since I left for ISS. Ah, what an amazing journey. The story doesn't tell us, but make a prediction with your partner about what you think Scott does with the rest of his life. Does he continue going to space, or do you think he takes some time to spend with his family and be back on Earth? After reading this book as a read aloud, I would love my students to take some time to research Scott Kelly and his brother Mark, as well as other astronauts that they would be interested in.